If you're the person in your friendship group who likes to try new things before anyone else has even heard of them, then it's time to put Outback Queensland on your travel list. Today's episode, we're talking about all the different ways that you can experience the Queensland night sky. If this sounds like your jam, then this is the perfect episode for you. Hey, I'm Steph, and I'm obsessed with all things travel, marketing, branding, and helping you stand out from the crowd. In just under 2 years, I went from being a home-based travel agent with zero clue how to make it work in the digital world to launching an international ranking travel podcast and creating an online course to help travel agents in lead generation. Here's one thing I know for sure. There has never in the history of the world been a better time to create the travel business you've always wanted. All you need is an actionable strategy and someone to show you the way. Picture this, we're going to spend the next hour of our time together at the Swim Up Pool Bar where over a cocktail, we deep dive into travel-related topics, mixed with a little classroom training. This show is dedicated to encouraging you to step outside of your comfort zone and into your travel business. I'll show you how I did it and how you can too. Hit subscribe now and let's get into it. If you're a travel agent wanting to onboard your perfect fit clients into your biz, download my free cheat sheet for lead generation systems you can use right now. Head to stephaniemyers.academy/cheat sheet. You're listening to Unplug in Paradise, the podcast. Hello and welcome back to Unplug in Paradise. I'm your host, Stephanie Myers, and thank you so much for tuning in. Whether you're out and about in the car or you're taking me along today with you as your walking buddy, you've most likely got some time to yourself. So I really hope that this episode is valuable to you because the number one reason I'm so excited about this conversation is because I get to reconnect with two special ladies who continue to do incredible things for the travel industry as part of my mini-series with Outback Queensland. So it's an absolute pleasure to welcome them back to the show. So let's talk about all the cool places to sleep under the stars, hey? Oh my God, I cannot wait. All right, let's jump in. In today's episode, we are adventuring back into the Queensland Outback with special guests and our Outback Queens, Janis McDonald and Michelle Nickelson from Outback Queensland Tourism Association. Welcome back to the podcast, ladies.
Thanks for having us, Steph.
Great to be back.
How have things been in the Queensland Outback lately?
It has been extremely busy in Outback Queensland, and it's so great to see people are finally exploring so much more of our backyard than ever before.
And I think thanks to you, Stephanie, for getting us on last year. I definitely think that really did help. Just chatting to yourself and to your listeners as well. The Outback had a really successful season last year, and we're really looking forward to seeing some of your listeners this year out in the Outback Queensland.
Fantastic. Today we're uncovering the most unique and authentic accommodation styles, from glamping to camping, motels, farm stays, stations and retreats with all the luxury creature comforts. But before we begin, would you please join me while we recognise the generations of the local Aboriginal people of the Bundjalung Nation who have lived in and derived their physical and spiritual needs from the forests, rivers, lakes and streams of this beautiful valley over thousands of years of the traditional owners and custodians of these lands. Now, you ladies would definitely agree with me here. We all know that Outback Queensland is an incredibly special place with so much to offer. And this is completely my perspective, but I often think that the region has, as a whole, by far has the most diverse ranges of accommodation styles, especially in way that you offer so much for everyone and you can pretty much cater for all tastes and budgets, and also offering all that all-encompassing experience to guests as soon as they arrive into town.
That's correct, Stephanie. I must admit, before we were doing Outback Queensland, we had absolutely no idea what to expect. And then having been in the Outback and living what these people have lived, where you need a helicopter to get into some places.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. And we can't wait to share some of these very exciting places that we've discovered.
Cool. I can't wait to hear. So where are we starting first?
Where should we start today, Michelle?
Okay, well,
Should we start in Longreach? Everyone knows Longreach.
Everyone does know Longreach.
Yeah.
But does everybody know that in Longreach we've got this wonderful property called Mitchell Grass Retreat? So I certainly didn't know about Mitchell Grass Retreat. And I have to say from the get-go that I am not a camper. And
Yes, she doesn't like putting up her own tent.
No, I do like my luxuries, such as electricity and particularly a nice bathtub.
And a flushing toilet.
So all of this actually leads me to this fabulous retreat. It's called Mitchell Grass Retreat, and it's about 4.5 kilometres drive from the Longreach town centre, and it is pure luxury glamping in Outback Queensland. So there's 15 luxury ensuite tents, and all these tents have got open plan, got your insect screens, which is super important, but it's just pure luxury. You walk into the tent and you see this beautiful, sumptuous king-size bed with all the beautiful, gorgeous linen. Your little decanter there. I'm talking, the big sunken baths,
Oh, how luxurious is
bath,
that?
and honestly, you unzip your little, window zipper thing, and you can take in the sunset or even take in a sunrise if you wanted to. But I'm thinking sunset, glass of champagne, sitting in your bathtub. What more could you want? So it's really unique because Longreach doesn't have anything like this. So you drive up the long driveway, you see all of these tents scattered around. You've got tents that are perfect for couples. You've got tents there that are perfect for families. Each tent has a private deck. You've got your Weber barbecue set up, your outdoor furniture. You can sit on your little deck outside your tent, like I said, take in the sunrise, meet, talk about where you've been, what you've done. Pools there as well, so when it's getting a little bit hot, you can go for a bit of a swim, but really something quite unique to Longreach. And I do encourage you to have a look at Mitchell Grass Retreat.
It sounds fantastic, and it's relatively new to Longreach, isn't it?
It's not even a year old now.
July it opened last year. So it's very new, very popular. Like I mentioned, there's only 15 of the luxury tents, so they do book out quite early. So it's really important that if you are thinking of going out to Longreach, your viewers do actually book in advance because they do sell out quite quickly.
They've also installed air conditioning units in the tents as well. So if people are traveling a little bit later in the year, for instance, November, or perhaps they even want to go in late February, March, which is, tends to be low season in the Outback, they will at least have cool air-conditioned facilities if they are travelling at those hotter times of the year in the Outback.
And you can sleep outside in the swags too, can't you, if you've got some kids and they want to have that full-on outdoors adventure?
Yes, the kids love it, like sleeping in a swag on a deck, they love that. And for the adults, they can sleep in their king-size bed and still see their children sleeping out on the deck. So it works really well, the family tents, and the kids love it.
City kids don't always get the opportunity to go camping. No. Not everyone's a camper. So this is a great way sort of to give the kids a bit of a taste of the more glamping style in Longreach.
And you can fly out to Longreach from most cities.
Correct.
Certainly can. You can get to Longreach by air, by rail, and
if you're brave enough to drive in the Outback, which is quite easy to get around, you can also use your own vehicle, get to Longreach.
And we've actually just launched our drive brochure. Perfect opportunity for everybody to to get in their car and go for a drive and experience what the Outback has got to offer. There's lots of different driving routes, itineraries that Outback Queensland Tourism Association has put together. And yeah, definitely worth having a look at for a week. There's lots of itineraries there that you can choose from for a couple of days. Yeah, lots.
And the brochures can be downloaded onto your phone as well.
Oh, cool.
As well.
Yeah, cool. I'll put a copy of it in the show notes. Yeah, so that's super handy. I was going to ask if it's available as an e-version. That's awesome.
You can do your QR scanning, and it gives you the full itinerary as well of what you can do in the Outback.
Oh, wow. Clever. You ladies are onto it.
We can't take credit for that, unfortunately. Let's just say we have very good backup team.
Oh, that's okay. You can claim it. I give you permission to claim it.
Now, keeping in the Longreach region, another property we thought would be of interest to some of your listeners. It is a little bit different than the motel sort of accommodation, and that is the Saltbush Retreat. Definitely advise people to book well in advance with their travel agents when they are looking at travelling to the Longreach region. Saltbush is located in the heart of Longreach. It's in walking distance to your Qantas Founders Museum, the Stockman's Hall of Fame. So you don't necessarily need a vehicle if you're staying at Saltbush. The great thing about Saltbush, they've got 3 different types of accommodation, but I really want to chat about 2 of the types of accommodation. The first one is the 4.5-star homestead stables, and then there's the 4-star slab huts, and there's 11 of those available. I just need you to picture in your mind different types of accommodation, kind of all that rustic, beautiful brown leather look, kind of very just reminds me of like the early 1900s when used to travel on the back of a horse, and then you get to the end of the day and you find this beautiful white bed in this rusticy looking accommodation, and it's just really well appointed. The 2 types of accommodation give you access to those famous bathtubs that everyone talks about in the Outback, and it's a lovely way to end the day. Like if you've just been out and about, you've been walking, hiking, or just sometimes the heat gets a bit too much in the Outback when you're traveling later in the year or first thing in the year. You just sit in the bathtubs. There's this wooden table next to you. It's really like a beautiful tree stump, and you can put your glass of champagne there and your cheese platter and just soak in the beautiful, refreshing water while you're watching the sunset, partner, before you have to go back to reality, you know?
And who doesn't love a nice soak, especially under, watching the sunset or the sunrise? You can have baths in the morning. You can have baths any time of day.
Wear clothing in the bathtubs because it is a public bath terrace.
Yes, it is not one of those.
Good tip. Wear clothes. Exactly. Remember to wear clothes.
Now, the great thing about Saltbush Retreat, it's good for families and it's also good for couples. So depending on whether you're traveling as a couple or as a family will depend on what type of accommodation would suit you best. They do have cabins as well. The only thing with the cabins, you aren't able to use the bathtubs. So we definitely recommend the other 2 types of accommodation because everyone just wants the bathtubs at the end of the day.
Is there enough bathtubs to go round, or is there like a waiting list or something?
You do have to book it in. There's only 3. So
you make it only 3. There's 3 bathtubs there. So you do find obviously, that afternoon sunset time that they're usually, there's people loitering around the bath terrace. But it's definitely worth it. I think, like Janice said, if you're going to go to Saltbush, do try and stay in one of those 2 accommodation types, just so that you can experience that outdoor bathtub and get that Insta shot that everyone's after.
Yeah, totally. Well, I just had a quick, vision of being in the bath with 10 or 12 people just hovering around, waiting for you to finish.
Let's not think about that one.
Oh, There are other places around Outback Queensland that you've got, you know, retreats and bathtubs and other places that have like a really huge point of difference too. You've got some
Yes,
stations
we
as
do.
well.
There's lots of stations around the Outback Queensland region, and there's a lot of them that actually have refurbished their shearers' quarters into accommodation style twin or double rooms, depending on who you're traveling with, depends which room type you want. There's two stations that we can sort of think off the top of our head is Charlotte's Plains and the Shandon Vale. And those two properties, they're very different in their offering of what they offer guests in the way of accommodation. But the unique thing that both of them have is those outback bathtubs that everyone seems to be trying to get into and have their Insta shots. So, but I just want to reiterate that each station has its own uniqueness on what they offer guests. Like, for instance, Shandon Vale, the shearers' quarters have been elegantly refurbished, and you've got these beautiful chandeliers coming off the top of the ceiling, lighting up the room. And they're very much into hands-on from like the land to your plate. So they offer beautiful meals as well.
Lovely.
And then end of the day you can just soak it up in their outdoor bathtub, which is it looks like a bit of a jacuzzi I would say, or spa bath that's been raised, and you get this beautiful view over the river. You can also do different types of tours on all the stations as well. A lot of them will take you onto the station and you know, give you the lay of the land. Charlotte's Plains, I know, also offer facilities for people that have their own caravans or do like to camp. So you can set up your own camping facilities on their property. So it just depends on what type of station stay you want. But I definitely would recommend it. I mean, it's great for kids to see, you know, what the Outback has in the way of, you know, how the farmers work really hard 9 to 5 in a city life, but in a farming life, it's very different.
And a lot of them are family owned and operated
they are,
too.
And some of them have even had the properties from generation to generation. So it's a way of life for them. You know, cattle is just what they do, and generally tourism is not their main source of income, but a secondary source of income for them. So, you know, sometimes they have it really hard in the Outback, and so tourism helps prop up their revenue. So we want to support the locals, you know, and we want to support our farmers.
And I guess, you know, going back to the theme of today's chat is that it's a unique accommodation experience.
Yeah.
That is something that a station can provide, is a unique accommodation experience for everybody.
Well, I think travelling to Outback Queensland definitely is so unique just in itself, because just on past conversations I know we've had is that it's about getting to know the land, the history, the heritage behind it, but then really getting to know those families and forming those connections, because not only are they, you know, they know that place back to front, they know exactly what they're doing and they do it so well, and they just want to showcase it to you, but then educate you and inspire you at the same time. And anytime that I've gone any remotely inland, and this is not very far, I haven't gone as far as Outback Queensland, you know, from a driver's perspective, I've definitely gone to, you know, Central Australia.
And they're authentic. I think that's what Outback Queensland brings, is that authenticity of people. And, you know, like I really love meeting people from Outback Queensland because they're just so real. There's, like I said, they're so authentic, you know. And just, Steph, you just mentioned about, you know, the families working on the stations and wanting to showcase how they live. Sort of a segue into the Gilberton Outback Retreat. Now, I don't know, Steph, whether you've heard of this particular retreat, but again, this is 5-star luxury, and it's very private. And it's actually located on a seventh generation working cattle station. So this is quite an amazing retreat. And you know, you mentioned about, you know, the families, you know, obviously their main source of income is the cattle station. But, you know, this particular family has got this Gilberton Outback retreat. And, you know, when you stay at Gilberton, the meals and the beverages are all inclusive, and they include dinners at the homestead. So with the family, so you can enjoy those sunset drinks and have those delicious, wholesome country meals actually with the family.
I want you to picture Gilberton, okay? Because it is like no other accommodation I've seen in the Outback.
Well, you think because you're from South Africa, you have that
sort of like, it's kind of a little
connection.
bit African-y, I guess.
Yeah, like
so I want you to picture you've got this big retreat high on a hill that overlooks the Gilberton River, okay? There's no windows, there's no doors. It is that private. So you lie on this beautiful king-size bed.
Poster bed.
Yeah, poster bed overlooking the river, and you are not going to see another person. You're going to have no mobile reception. You're going to have no TV.
So they say unwind and digital detox.
And there's the opportunity, like your bathroom, your bath is sitting right on the edge of this platform, and it's one of those high baths, so you can just soak in there with your head leaning, as you know, on the top of the bath, drinking your champagne as you're watching the sunset go down. It is just beautiful. Everything about this place is so well appointed. It just is beautiful and amazing.
And it's built from local stone as well. So imagine, you know, you've got like big tree trunks through the middle, you know, holding, you know, that are pretty much holding the roof and the structure of the retreat. It's quite amazing.
Now to get there, you can get there by private helicopter or plane. They can send coordinates if you've got your own private plane. You can get there by road. It's about just under 5 hours from Townsville. Again, this is only one accommodation, so there isn't any more. It is just one. So it's very, very private on the station, and it does book out because there's only one property there. So if you want a honeymoon there, definitely need to book it well in advance. It's very, very private. And that's what Gilberton prides itself on, its privacy policy.
Unreal. That sounds amazing. So if you're the only one there, where does all your meals and stuff like that come from? Are they brought to where you are? Are they cooked elsewhere and
you
brought
can go
to where
up
you are?
to
Or how does
the
it work?
homestead
or dinner if you want to, but they do provide food, so they'll bring in your breakfast, lunch and dinners if you want to have it in your retreat. You can also obviously drive through the station, so you know the people are very hospitable, and if you want to have dinner, I guess, along the river for something different because it's a special occasion, like these people will go all out to make sure their guests have a really awesome time there.
How amazing.
But it is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna look them up on YouTube. So I think there's a couple of videos and stuff that you can see. Gilberton Outback Retreat. Oh wow. That's a bit mind blowing, isn't it? How's that for Outback Queensland?
We've covered all the accommodation types, and all available in Outback Queensland. So, which is just wonderful that we've got this in our backyard, our very own backyard.
I know. How special is that? And I know that Outback Queensland is so large in the scale of things because Australia is such a big bloody country. So they're all, the ones that we've spoken about today, they're all quite scattered throughout Outback Queensland. They're not located in one. That's correct. One location as such.
Each town has its own little uniqueness and its own unique accommodation. There's some places that will have just like a small cottage located on their property even, and you can just book with them direct as opposed to like through What If and all those sorts of places. But they're not going to be on those sorts of places. But the uniqueness of these sorts of things is that, you know, I was talking to a lady the other day, and part of her business is it's only secondary tourism. And she's got this beautiful little cottage in Barcaldine, and she has guests that arrive all the time, whether they are, there for work or for pleasure. But it's a 2-bedroom style little cottage, great for kids because she's got a garden that they can play in with swings and slides. So, you can get little unique places that can cater for families or for just anyone coming through the region, really.
Even like little bed and breakfasts, like the mobile homestead.
Yeah, Quilpie. Yeah, they have done an amazing job with all the different types of activities you can do there. So they trying to focus more on weekends, like perhaps walking packages, or they're even doing photography or bird watching weekend, fishing. So
cool. I
if
like
you've got
that.
specialized groups of people that want to do specialized things, some of these little places like Mobile Homestead already have that in place, and you can just sort of tap into that.
They have a beautiful veranda, don't they, Jan?
Oh,
and I can just,
cute.
I mean, you see the lovely long table. I just picture like a group of ladies going out for a weekend and staying at the Mobile and having a beautiful like afternoon tea with all the fresh bush flowers, as like a table setting, and along the banks of the river. It's so lovely. They've got little like a garden room. They've got a hut. They've got the shearers' quarters. They've just got so much there, and they've got their private airstrip too, so you can just pop in, pop in for a night and then take off again to the next destination.
The gift that keeps on giving. And I think just from what you're describing with the long table and the bush flowers and things like that, from an agent's perspective, and I have not yet been to Africa, and I have watched a movie recently about Africa, and it sounds like they're really having those really unique and individual experiences, but they're here in our own country, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. And I think they generally associate those sorts of experiences with having to go to Africa and different places around the world. So yeah, it's really cool. And that's what I mean. Outback Queensland is just so diverse. Like there's no one region that can offer or possibly offer that many ranges of different accommodation styles, and for it to be, uber successful as well. Like a lot of people tend to think Outback Queensland is all those, motels and little shanties and stuff like that, but like there's so much more to it. And I just want to thank you both for sharing your expertise and knowledge. It's been absolutely invaluable, and I hope that a lot of people listening and tuning in do consider Outback Queensland as a destination. How can we find out more about you ladies if we were to follow you or keep up to date with what's going on in Outback Queensland?
Experience Outback Queensland website. The website is constantly getting updated. We recently updated the website with the announcement of our driving brochure. So all the driving itineraries and information is listed on the website, plus also accommodation types as well. Events that are happening out in Outback Queensland.
There's always an event going on in Outback Queensland.
But we really encourage people to talk to their travel agent to, plan in advance and get all that expertise knowledge on Outback Queensland.
Yes, definitely. And you're on Facebook and Instagram as well. And to all the travel agents who may be listening, please head over to and check out Outback Queensland Travel Trade, where Jan and Michelle pretty much post daily with suggestions, ideas, and reasons why Outback Queensland should definitely be on your must-experience bucket list. A massive shout out to Jan and Michelle. Thank you so much, ladies. Your dedication to the travel industry is just so awe-inspiring, and I absolutely love chatting with you both. Thank you. You're both so much fun all the time. I love it. So there are a few things in the show notes for today's episode. I will include images and links of all the properties that we were speaking about today. So that way you can easily jump over and do your research on each of them if you're planning on heading out to Outback Queensland. Also, if you're looking at booking something in, I do strongly suggest that you get in touch with a experienced Aussie specialist travel agent. If you're unaware of any in your area, you can always head over to www.australia.com. It is the Tourism Australia website, and you can find a Aussie specialist over there. So you can search by country, state, and city. The benefits of using an Aussie specialist, as you might be thinking, well, Australia is pretty easy. I could book it myself online. But it just so happens that Aussie travel specialists are the experts on everything Australian. We have received extensive training from Tourism Australia to qualify, and most of us have travelled extensively throughout Australia, assisting you with your very own personalised experience, and we can fall back on the contacts that we have in the industry as well. In the show notes, we will also have the full e-version of the Outback Queensland Drive brochure as well. So to access today's show notes, you need to head over to travelbystephanie.com.au/29. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, I do encourage you to subscribe to Unplug in Paradise, rate and review, and also share your experiences with your friends or colleagues, as the only way that the podcast will grow is if we keep sharing it with more people and to keep Unplug in Paradise high up in those charts. If you have any questions at all, or you're keen for a collaboration or want to do a podcast swap, feel free to DM me over on Instagram, as that's where I hang out most of the time these days, or leave me a message over on my online home at travelbystephanie.com.au/contact. Feel free to drop me a little love note there and I'll get back in contact with you shortly. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I do look forward to chatting to you next Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Bye.
And sometimes my mommy just got it. He's a travel agent all day. He works so hard. He's a travel agent and loves me.